Blazing Hot 91 is 10 minutes after 9 o'clock on a Wednesday. That means it's time for health, healing, and Hampton Roads. And today, we're definitely talking about all things government with Delegate Cliff Hayes Jr. from the Virginia House of Delegates. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Brother Perry, and good morning to the NSU 91.1 Hot 91 family all across Hampton Roads. Yes, sir.
Thanks a lot for being with us on today. A lot is going on in the nation, especially in just a few hours. We're going to be inaugurating the 46th President of the United States of America. Now, tell me, what does that mean for you?
It means an absolutely beautiful thing that we will stand here, and we are now standing on the tiptoes of anticipation as we are about to receive the 46th President of the United States of America. And, of course, in that package is a magnificent, intelligent, wonderful, inspiring member of the HBCU family, and Divine Nine, and our Vice President, soon to be Kamala Harris. And so we're excited about receiving a new president, President Biden, and Vice President Kamala Harris.
Oh, yeah. Make sure you wear those chucks and those pearls to celebrate that as well. Now, let's talk about your role in the Virginia House of Delegates.
Sure, certainly. Just excited about as what I see as another way to give back, if you will, to the community in which I grew up in, which is in the Chesapeake and South Norfolk area there, and a small portion of Virginia Beach. That's the district in which I represent. Coming through the very fine institution of Norfolk State University in my undergraduate years as I matriculated and was a member of the Norfolk State baseball team, excited about the scholarship I received, and chatting with then the athletic director, Dick Price. As we walked off the field, I was so elated. I looked at him. I said, man, whatever we can do, Coach, we want to be able to do for this benefit of having this education at this fine institution. He said to me then, and I still believe in it to this day, to the bone, he said to me, you don't owe me or anybody else a thing except for that you throw the rope back. And so ever since leaving Norfolk State University, that's been my mission, that as we climb the wall and scale the walls of life, that we make sure that we throw the rope back for so many other people that are going to be coming behind us. Generations to come need to know that they're going to have in America a Commonwealth of Virginia, a Hampton Roads that they can be proud of, they can flourish in, and that's my mission as I serve in the House of Delegates.
Yeah, talk about throwing the rope back. You can do that in many, many different ways, whether it's teaching somebody, whether it's financially supporting, whether it is in your position, you're sitting in the Virginia House of Delegates, making sure that things are there for the future.
Absolutely. It's all about getting in where you fit in. We all have a person and a purpose in life, and it's a matter of following that purpose and finding what it is that you have been called to do, and get in where you fit in, put a shoulder to the wheel, and not only make today's society better, but to try to build a better future for those who come after us.
Question, how did you know that you wanted to go into the political game and to serve the people?
Well, interestingly enough, as I left Norfolk State, and as I mentioned, I had played baseball there and had quite a great experience in playing this sport that I love. But once leaving Norfolk State, I recall that I had learned so many fundamental principles to the game and had gotten so much wiser that I thought it was important to give back to the community in which I grew up and played. And so I began coaching in that community. And on the opening day of my first season of coaching, the mayor of the city of Chesapeake came out to throw out the first pitch. That mayor, then Dr. William E. Bill Ward, was also my history professor there at Norfolk State in my undergraduate years. And he asked and posed the question, what are you doing here besides coaching? It's a wonderful thing that you're coaching, but we need you. We need your energy in other places in our community. And so I followed him, held on to his coattail, and he took me around and helped me join and meet people through organizations such as Chesapeake Men for Progress, the Chesapeake Forward, the Chesapeake NAACP, etc. And eventually, what ended up happening is during the years that he was planning for his own retirement, in which he was the longest-serving mayor in the history of the city of Chesapeake and the only African-American mayor to serve in that capacity, he was on his way to retirement. And he asked me to kind of stand in and try to receive the torch, if you will, as an elected official in the city of Chesapeake, to kind of carry that banner, if you will. And what came with that was a number of community leaders that helped hold my arms up and carry me across the finish line. And so I ended up getting elected to city council as he was retiring. Mm-hmm. I was starting my first term. And so served 2 terms there on the Chesapeake City Council. It was my delight that when then Senator Kenny Alexander ran for mayor of the city of Norfolk, it opened up an opportunity for then Delegate Lionel Sproul, who's also a Norfolk State alum, ran for the Senate seat, and it opened up an opportunity for me to run and represent the district in the House of Delegates. And thus, here I am today. It's a wonderful thing.
Yes, indeed. Now, let's talk about, since we started with the inauguration, let's talk about the current state of our government, because so much has happened over the last few years, with 45 being in office and, even the insurrection that just happened a few weeks ago to today's inauguration. What is the state of our federal government first?
Well, the state of the federal government is that we are in a state of, I believe, this whole country is in a state of reconstruction. And so we'll be going back to a time where we can begin to rebuild our communities and to reconstruct just what our democracy actually should look like. And so I'm excited about the many things that we've seen building up to this past November's election, and of course today, the swearing in and the oath of office of our new president and vice president, and what that will mean. And that will mean a lot of reforms that we should, very rightfully so, be addressing. And so in our communities, we ought to make sure that we have the ability to take a look at criminal justice reform, that we begin to look at our budgets and where our funding is going, as we look at education, as we look at health care, and what that means. How is it that we can be a country, one of the wealthiest countries in the world, and still have so many people without health care? And so even in this Commonwealth of Virginia, just a few years ago, we were able to link on to and attach ourselves to then proposed health care initiatives from President Barack Obama as he put forth the Affordable Care Act. And that allowed for, in this country, states to partner with the federal government to have what we call Medicaid expansion. And in the Commonwealth of Virginia, just a few years ago, Virginia finally said yes to Medicaid expansion after years and years of denial of President Obama's initiative. But wisely so, just a couple of years ago, the Commonwealth of Virginia agreed to Medicaid expansion. And now today, we have over 500,000 Virginian families that now have access to quality, affordable education that did not have that access before.
You sort of pivoted in that discussion to my next question that was going to talk about the local state and the state of affairs that is happening here in Virginia. And you sort of pivoted that direction already.
Yeah, I'm happy to be a member of the Virginia Legislative Black Caucus and the Democratic Caucus here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And there have been quite a number of initiatives that have been able to be stood up here just this past year. 1 year ago, we started with a number of initiatives, including our budget, which reminds me, quite honestly, when I was a student at Norfolk State, and just kind of finishing up my degree, I had the pleasure of meeting then governor, first African-American governor in the country and of the Commonwealth of Virginia, L. Douglas Wilder, and meeting him there along with President Harrison B. Wilson. I asked the question, what is the most important role that you have as governor? And he responded by simply saying, it's nice as you serve as a state leader and as a leader in the community to be able to make sure that you ask for a piece of the pie. But it's even better when your hand is on the knife when the pie is being cut. And so I'm proud to be a member of the Appropriations Committee at the Virginia House of Delegates, where I am able to be an important part of what funding will go to our HBCUs in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Serving as the subcommittee chair of appropriations on capital outlay as well as higher education, I'm able to put a shoulder to the wheel to help our HBCUs. And so last January, as we were in session, the budget included unprecedented $100 million to our HBCUs between Norfolk State and ODU to help these universities who had been woefully funded, lacking in the past. Of course, during our special session, we were able to continue that. And then now, as we go into this budget cycle this year, we'll continue that focus as well.
Mm-hmm. It seems like you definitely have a lot on your plate. And let me just ask this question, because we just passed Martin Luther King Day holiday as well. What is it like being an African-American male and standing as an African-American in a dominant or a predominantly society now that in politics is so driven, and even some of the policies are driven against African Americans?
Well, Brother Perry, if we all just get back to the basics, and that is that we should be considering the fact that we're on this earth, one, to lift up, as I believe, and worship our master, and that is God. And then the second reason why we were created was to fellowship with one another. And so those are important principles to me. And I believe in that fellowship with one another is to recognize people for who they are as human beings. And if we treat one another as human beings, that should also spill over into whatever laws that are on the books. And so we should make sure, as Dr. King noted so very eloquently and ably, that we're all caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied to a single garment of destiny. In other words, I can't be all that I can be unless you can be all that you can be, and vice versa. You can't be all you can be unless I can be all that I can be. And so it behooves us to make sure that every American, every Virginian has the opportunity to grow, flourish, be healthy, and live prosperously in this nation. And so, as Dr. King, we come off of the holiday of Dr. King. One of the most fundamental aspects of Dr. King was his mission and his push for hope, justice, and equality. But at the foundation of all of that is love. I'm reminded of my dear bishop, who also is a Norfolk State alumnus, Bishop Kim W. Brown, has very eloquently and ably noted that love is undefeated. And so no matter what you do in this life, if you care for one another and express in such a way love at the center of it, then we'll all be much more successful. So those are principles that are important to me, and you'll find that in every piece of legislation that not only I sponsor, but that I support and vote for. It's important for us to remember that as we traverse this life, there are challenges, yes, absolutely. And in many cases, they are pretty catastrophic situations, as African Americans in this country have faced for over 401 years ago when we were brought to these shores. And then after that, over 240 years of slavery. Mm-hmm. And then after that, Jim Crow. Mm-hmm. And yet we still find a way to survive and to forgive and to make sure that we are held on the same plane as anybody else. As the wonderful, eloquent, most, I believe, intellectual professor and researcher of this time, still alive today, Dr. Cornel West reminds us all that we are all human beings. We're all on that same level playing field, and we need to make sure that we focus on just that.
Yes, you're hitting it right on the nail. You're listening to Health Healing in Hampton Roads. We have just a few more moments before we have to go. Any final statements you would like to make?
Just that, as I mentioned before, that there are many challenges in this life. I just want to inspire everyone to work in our communities, wherever you are, not only on your own benefit and behalf, but that you make sure that we are creating a place for our children so that as they grow older, as they are introduced to different phases of life, that they know that they can be all that they can be, and that even though many times we are faced with despair, we will not allow despair to have the last word, that we will be ever working towards hope, ever prisoners of hope. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Brother Perry, and I thank you for this opportunity.
Okay, Delegate Cliff Hayes Jr., give a number or some information where if somebody wants to contact you.
Certainly. For those interested, you may email my office at delc@house.virginia.gov. You can call my office, 757-364-0272. And as always, behold the green and gold.
Couldn't have said it no better. Delegate Cliff Hayes Jr., thanks so much for coming on Health Healing and Hampton Roads.